So, you're considering hiring your first virtual assistant from the Philippines and you've got some questions. Well, in this video, I'll be covering the 7-step hiring process that I have used to hire dozens of Filipino virtual assistants over the last couple of years. It's a process that has worked very well for me and I have refined it over time, so I'm very confident that if you implement this process yourself, you'll have a ton of success hiring your first Filipino virtual assistant. So without further ado, let's dive right on in and start off with step number 1. This is going to be probably the least exciting step of the process, at least for me, but it is one of the most important, and that is to map out your ideal hire. So big picture, hiring the wrong person absolutely sucks, okay? It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's very stressful, and it just wastes a lot of your energy. So it's really something that you want to avoid at all costs. It's a mistake that I've made a number of times, and every single time that I've made this mistake, it's because I have skipped this step or not spent as much time here as I needed to. So in order to avoid that mistake, what you have to do is clearly map out what the attributes are of this person that you're looking for that would allow them to be successful in the role that you are hiring for. These are going to include the skills that they need, the character traits that would be helpful for them to excel, the aspects of company culture that they're going to need to adapt to and kind of fit in with, the kinds of things that they get excited about and get motivated by, and really any number of other things that you can think of that would be important to this person in really thriving in the position. Because one thing that I've really learned after hiring a couple dozen people online is that you want to find alignment between the person and the position in such a way that the person is going to be super excited about it, okay? If you find someone who just kind of feels kind of meh about the opportunity, then they're probably not going to do that great of a job and it's probably not going to work out that well. But when I have found people that have been super excited about these different opportunities that I've been able to provide, that's why I've seen the most success in hiring people and the longest kind of longevity with these relationships. So practically, how do you actually do this? Well, what I like to do is if I'm thinking about hiring someone the week prior to when I want to actually take action, make that job post and start the hiring process, I'm just going to start making a list. And on that list, the first thing I'm going to include is the different tasks that I want this person to do, along with approximations for how long it will take them to do these tasks. In general, I recommend hiring people full-time, especially when you're hiring Filipino virtual assistants. I find it's just best when you can have 100% of their kind of mental real estate. And if they're fully focused on your job, oftentimes you're going to get a much higher ROI than if they're kind of half in, half out, half doing kind of other work, half doing your work. So I like to hire people full-time, so I want to build out a workload for them that's going to fit a 40-hour work week in most cases. So throughout the week, I'm just going to be finding tasks that I am doing that I want to delegate to this person, or just thinking about in general, what is this person's workload going to look like and how long are those things going to approximately take, okay? And you're going to have to add a little bit of time compared to what you are spending doing it right now, probably if they are brand new coming into it, but ideally over time, they'll get faster and better at it than you even are. So you'll just have to kind of factor in that front-loaded training period. The next thing you want to list is what a good job looks like. Okay, nobody wants to come into a position where they have no idea what the goalposts are and no idea what they're trying to work towards. So make a very clear and concise statement of what a good job looks like for this position. Is it a video editor who you need to edit 1 video per day and post it on YouTube Monday through Friday? Is it a graphic designer that needs to finish 15 client projects per week? Like, what are the goalposts for this person? What does a success look like for them? Item number 3 on that list is going to be the growth potential for this position, okay? And what I mean by this is where do they go from here? Okay, nobody wants a dead-end job. Nobody wants to just find a position that they're just not going to be able to grow in. So how do they grow in this position? Like, what are the opportunities for leadership? What are the opportunities to take on additional responsibilities? Like, how do they progress from what you're hiring them for now into something that could last them for potentially years to come? And then lastly, and most importantly, what is going to make this position exciting to the right person? Because like I mentioned earlier, you want to really find alignment between the person you're hiring and the position. And so the most important way to do this is to really show the person you're looking for that this position is for them. So think about what motivates that person, okay? What gets them excited, okay? And figure out how you can structure those things into the position in such a way that if your ideal candidate came across this job opening, they would say, wow, this is the opportunity for me. So once you've gone through and done all that prep work, then we can move on to step number 2, which is to choose your hiring platform. Now, over the last few years, I've used pretty much all of the major hiring platforms out there, as well as a ton of the smaller ones. And really what it boils down to for me, the platforms that I use the most, there's 3 of them. First one is going to be Fiverr. And Fiverr is really useful for kind of one-offs or just project-based stuff where you just need somebody who has a certain skill that you can just plug in. You're going to pay a bit of a premium for it, but it's super convenient and super fast. So if it's just a one-off thing, then you can find people on Fiverr. Not the best for kind of like a long-term virtual assistant relationship. Next, we've got Upwork, which is also very popular, but also not quite my favorite because you can't take the relationship off of the platform and you're still paying a premium because Upwork is taking a portion of all of the money that you pay to that person. So not the greatest, but you can find some really high quality talent both in the Philippines and elsewhere on the Upwork platform. But my favorite platform overall, and the one that I've used to hire the vast majority of virtual assistants, is going to be a platform called Online Jobs. And this is my go-to platform anytime a friend is asking me, hey, how do I hire a virtual assistant? Or I even help my mom hire a virtual assistant on Online Jobs for her business. So it's definitely my go-to platform all around. And I'll leave a link at the top of the description for it, which you can use to support the channel if you do want to sign up. But the reason that I like Online Jobs, there's a couple of them. First of which is you can take the relationship off the platform and it's totally allowed by them. So they're not trying to keep you on the platform, and that's because they're not taking a cut of the money that you pay to the person. So you do have to pay a monthly fee in order to use the platform, but basically what you do, you pay the fee for a month, you hire all the people you want, you cancel your subscription, and that's totally fine, okay? And then in the long term, you save a ton of money because instead of paying a percentage of all the money you're paying to this person to the platform, you just pay that monthly fee up front, you cancel, and then you have the relationship going forward. So that's really why I like Online Jobs. Very, very simple, very streamlined, and they're not taking any money on the payments that you're making to the person, which makes things much, much simpler. From there, once you decided on a platform, it's time to make a job post. And this is honestly one of the most important steps of the process because the wrong job post is not going to attract the right people. And so if you don't spend enough time here carefully crafting the right job post, you're going to be wasting your time because the right people aren't going to get excited when they find it. They're not going to apply and you're not going to get any high quality applicants. And this has happened to me before. Okay, I've made a job post. I've gotten dozens of applications, none of which have been the right person because I just didn't take the time needed to craft a really solid job post. So how do you avoid that? Well, here is my step-by-step process for creating a job post. And if you guys want, I can probably find an example of one that I've used on Online Jobs before. So just comment below if you want that. I'll drop a link maybe on your comment or maybe in the description below. There'll be a link. I'm not really sure, but I can definitely get you guys an example just so you can see what that looks like. Maybe I'll throw one on screen right now as well. But here are kind of the steps that I'm following when I'm creating a job post myself. Number one, you got to clearly outline the position and who your ideal candidate is. Again, the whole purpose of this is for your job post to speak very, very clearly to the right person. So the most important piece is to sell the position in a way that the right person is going to get excited about. Emphasize the perks, the benefits, what they're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. And again, that potential for growth, just kind of hinting at that a little bit in the job post is going to be really important as well because like I said, nobody wants a dead-end job. Also important information to toss in there would be whether it's full-time or part-time position, the approximate pay and pay structure because people need to know how much they're going to get paid before they go ahead and apply. Also, one important thing to note here is if you're hiring from the Philippines, there's something called 13th month, which is really important to take into account. It's basically a mandatory kind of like Christmas bonus that all Filipino employers are required to pay. As someone like myself who is based in the US and then hiring virtually in the Philippines, I'm not technically required to pay this, but I do choose to pay all of my virtual assistants and anyone that I hire in the Philippines 13th month. That's something that you really should be paying. If you're going to be hiring people from the Philippines, they honestly do expect it because like I said, it's federally mandated in the Philippines that all Filipino employers pay this. They're going to be expecting it. In most cases, they're not going to ask about it because Filipinos can be a little bit shy, especially when you're hiring them for the first time, but you really should be paying this if you are hiring in the Philippines. And then lastly, you just want to outline what is going to be expected of this person, okay? Do you need them working specific hours? Do they need to have access to certain softwares? Like what are the expectations of the position beforehand, just so that you can filter out the people that might not be the right fit for you. Then after you've laid that all out, there's 3 things that you need to ask for from that applicant as kind of the next steps or calls to actions. Every job post should have kind of easy next steps for them to follow if they are interested in the position. So here are the 3 things that I like to ask them for. Number 1 is going to be their Skype username. This is pretty standard on Online Jobs. That's kind of the next step for people. You get their Skype username, you chat them on Skype a little bit, and then we'll get into step 4, which is kind of what comes after that. But you get their their Skype username, you get some examples of their past work. Okay, so if it's a video editor, you want some examples of their past work. If it's a graphic designer, if it's a web designer, you want to get some kind of feel for what they have done in the past. And then the third thing is you want to ask them to include something kind of random, okay, something that really ensures that they read the job post. So maybe they put a picture of a green banana in their response to you, okay, and so you can quickly just filter through all the people that don't have an attention to detail, all the people that didn't actually read your entire job post because they didn't put that green banana in there, and just get rid of all those applications right away. Which ties us into step number 4, which is to filter through your applicants. So on online jobs, depending on the position you make and how well you sell it, you can potentially get over 100 responses to your job post. And I've posted jobs in there in the past that have, gotten well over 100 responses to them. So it can be really, really important to have a system to quickly filter through all these applications, because it can take hours, days even, to filter through all those applicants if you don't have an effective way of doing so. So what I like to do is take a quick skim through first and just delete everybody that did not include those 3 things that I asked for. So if there's no Skype username, or there's no portfolio, or there's no green banana, all of those people are getting deleted, okay? If they didn't take the time to read the job post, I'm not gonna take the time to read their response. Then I just take a second run through looking at all of the sample portfolios that are left from the applicants that actually did read the application, and filter it down to just the ones whose quality of work are up to my standards for the position. Now, ideally, this should bring you down to a pool of less than 10 people. If it doesn't, then raise your standards and cut out the bottom rung of people in terms of quality. If you don't have at least like 4 or 5 people, then you might need to go back to the drawing board and tweak your job post a little bit to attract some more high quality talent, maybe raise the salary a little bit, or just tweak the copy to make it sound a little bit more compelling to the right person, because you want to be left with anywhere from about 4 to 8 people for the next step of the process, which is step 5, and that is the interview process. So now that you've got your list filtered down to 4 to 8 people, you've got their Skype username, what you're gonna do is shoot them a quick message in Skype. Just say, hey, my name is so-and-so from Online Jobs, looked through your application and was super impressed. I'd love to line up some time to chat, or something along those lines. From there, you're gonna wanna coordinate quick little 15-minute conversations with these individuals. And I honestly like to line these all up back to back. So I'll just spend like 2 to 3 hours just knocking all of these out so that they're still fresh in my mind. Because what I found in the past is if I try to do some of these on Monday, some on Wednesday, some on Friday, by the time Friday rolls around, like I don't remember the people that I talked to on Monday very well. And so it's really important to me to just like bang these all out at once so that I can really remember what everyone was like and really get a good idea of who I'm interested in moving forward with. Now, for me, the purpose of the interview isn't so much to learn about their past employment history and things like that. It's really just to do a quick vibe check, because if I'm going to be working with somebody for the long term, interacting with them every day, like it's really important to me that the people that I work with are actually people that I enjoy spending time with and enjoy interacting with. And so I really just want to get a feel for what their vibe is like, what gets them excited, like are they really motivated by their work? Are they just looking for some cash? Like what gets them excited? What's their life like? Does it seem like this is a priority to them? I mean, I'll ask about their past employment history too, and just see like what they enjoyed about past positions and what they didn't, and just kind of experiences that they've had that have stood out to them. But I'm really just trying to get a feel for who they are and what they get excited about. So all that being said, don't feel like you need to walk away from these conversations with too much concrete information. Don't feel like you need pages and pages of notes. I'll jot down a couple of things during the conversation, but realistically, they're just like notes to remind me of how I felt interacting with this person, if I felt like they were somebody that I would want to interact with every day, or not so much. So now that you've talked to everyone and got a feel for what each of these people are like, it's time to move on to step number 6, which is to send out sample tasks to your top 3. So you want to filter down from the 4 to 8 that you had conversations with down to your top 3. And each of these 3 people are going to get a sample task. If you have like 4 or 5 people that you're like, I would really enjoy working with this person, you can send out more sample tasks than 3. I like to just have at least 3 as a minimum. Now with these sample tasks, the objective is for you to be able to get a better feel for what it's like to actually work with these people in the context that you will be if you actually hire them. And so what I like to do here is try to figure out what as close to an accurate representation of what they're going to be working on looks like in like a 1 to 5 hour window. Okay, so if they're going to be editing YouTube videos that are 20 minutes long and a 20-minute long YouTube video takes 10 hours to edit, maybe I'll ask them to edit say 3 minutes of a YouTube video instead. Tell them to spend no more than say 4 hours working on it, but to edit it as though it was a full kind of 20-minute video. Or maybe I'm hiring a blog writer to write 2,000 word articles. Maybe I'll have them write a sample 500 word article instead, just to get a feel for their capabilities. Very important note, this is a paid sample. Okay, so you're going to be paying these people for this sample work. They're not doing it out of the charity of their heart, but this is probably going to be one of the best ROI investments you make throughout the hiring process, because it's going to save you so much time, headache, stress, energy, etc. from picking the wrong person. Like investing $100 or $200 in these sample tasks could be the difference between hiring the right person and hiring the wrong person. And if you get the wrong person, it's just going to be a huge hassle. So very, very worthwhile. And so what I like to do is pay proportionally higher for these sample tasks than I would a normal task. So let's say I'm paying $200 to edit a normal video. Maybe I'm paying $100 for this like 4-minute sample. Okay, so make sure that you're kind of overcompensating for the sample task in the hopes that it encourages them to do their best work. Now, keep in mind that this is not kind of like the end all be all of this person's capabilities. Okay, they're obviously going to get better over time as you train them and as you kind of bring them up to speed with everything. And realistically, like I get way more information from sample tasks, not from the quality of the work per se, but more from the other things that I learn about the person throughout this process. So are they asking me questions? Like, what do they do when they get stuck? Like, is there good communication here? How long does it take them to do this? Like, is it a priority to them? And so there's all these other things, all these other little tidbits of information you can pick up about people just based on how they kind of interact with the sample task and do it. So yes, you can evaluate the quality of their work, but it's also important to look at the other factors as well outside of just how well they did the sample. But once you've gotten samples from all those people, usually I'll give them like a 48-hour deadline, honestly, because if I only want them to spend like 1 to 5 hours working on it, usually a 48-hour deadline is pretty reasonable. So give them 48 hours to do that. After that, you've got all the samples, you review them, you read into them a little bit and see what all kind of information you can gather from there. And then it's time for the exciting part, which is to make an offer to your top candidate. Now, in this offer, you're going to include the compensation for the position, the schedule, the expectations, and basically just a concise recap of that job post and the important information that pertains to them. These are going to include whether they're working US hours, whether they're working flexible hours, when payday is, and reiterating what a good job looks like for them in this position. I also like to set the expectation here that I'm hiring them for a 1 to 3 month trial period. So you can kind of choose whether it's going to be 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, etc. But I like to do this for 2 reasons. One, if it's not working out, it's very, very easy to just end things and say, hey, we're not going to extend you an offer after this trial. So once the 1 month is up, you just say, hey, it was great working with you, but this is not going to be a fit long-term. So it's an easy out, but then also it's an easy way to raise their pay quickly to get them excited and really bought into the growth potential of the position without incentivizing kind of bad behavior. Because if you were to say give someone a raise after a month, like that's not really a great way to set expectations for them, because then they're going to think they're going to get raises very frequently. But if say after a 1 month trial period, you extend them a full-time offer, that full-time offer has a higher rate associated with it, that's a great way to reward them for the hard work they've done without setting bad expectations. So congratulations, you now have all the information you need to make your first hire. There's a link to online jobs at the top of the description below if you want to support the channel, and best of luck out there, and I'll see you in the next video.